techno. Small and intimate. Digital to play, analog to produce. Berlin for the lifestyle, but Birmingham has my heart. Moment I got hooked on DJing was probably after being out in Birmingham a few times clubbing. I'd gone to 𝙀𝙃𝙃𝘼𝙃, and then I was a regular at a club for, I don't know, probably for a few months, called Baker's. And I just remember the DJ that was playing, he played every Friday, and it was pretty much the same set every week, and I just loved it. And I'm sure it was like handbag house. So it was always like, you know, like a combination of like Josh Wink's High State of Consciousness, you know, and all of the handbag classics. And I just remember at some point, I think I was probably on a podium, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I'd like to be in the middle of the room and, you know, putting the music on, and you know, my little ego, like, driven self at 16, it was probably like, yeah, just to be in the center of attention would be kind of cool. I didn't really find the music that I wanted to play till, I don't know, a year or two after. So when I was around 17, and I think I went to the Q Club for Atomic Jam, and then I remember like listening to techno for the first time, and it just blew my mind. Like, what is this music? What is it? And how crazy it was. And I didn't know any of the tracks, so the contrast between the earlier clubbing experience of knowing every single track and singing along to like not knowing the music, and then still it just blew my mind and was really inspirational. And I remember seeing Dave Clark from around that time, and he was just like the best DJ ever. But another time I was in Rome, and I just remember feeling I was DJing away, and then I remember looking up, feeling some kind of shift in energy, and I remember just seeing like the dance floor just parted, and it was like some kind of biblical moment. And then I just saw two guys like coming at each other with their little fists up, like two Italian guys having a fight, and I was like, oh. But it was a really strange thing because I hadn't really seen that before in a club or a venue. So yeah, that was pretty weird. So the tips I would recommend would be, for your first few sets, take someone that's sober, like you definitely need some support. Maybe arrive half an hour before your set, leave half an hour after. Yes, it's not very sociable, but it just means that you have less time to be tempted. If at any point you feel really uncomfortable or feel like, you know, you really want to drink, it's probably the time to leave. So yeah, that's what I would do. And it gets easier. The more that you do that, the more you build up a new association and a new habit. And that's all it is, really. It's, for me, it was associating a club with partying and taking drugs. And the moment I broke that association, it just was easy. My most important production tip would be to layer your kicks. So it's really hard to get like one kick that is just like going to cut through the mix, especially with techno. It seems to be a techno thing where people layer kicks. And I remember I got the tip from Chris Fink years ago, and he said he got the tip from Adam Beyer. So it's, the tips literally come down the food chain. And it does work. So you just play around with different frequencies, you know, and you know, a while back it was all about having a muddy kick. So there was a lot of like, you know, probably like a 909 and an 808, a little bit of 808 for the sub, and then a little bit of saturation on that. And then now we're using a lot of kicks that are really cutting through the mix in the mid frequencies. So it's like layering in, you know, maybe layering a snare drum or like a 707, something that pops at the top. So yeah, it's just about playing around with the different layers and different kicks. Just be aware that they do cancel each other out, so you've got to work on your envelopes really well. I don't know, removing the focus from what I'm doing and myself, and putting my focus back onto other people and the scene, and you know, like, I think that's just the way to do it. You know, I can't be so obsessed with myself anymore, about my gigs and about this, and you know, because it will happen when it happens. It's out of my control. So what can I control? That I can control what I can give to the scene now, and obviously I started up a mentorship program for a couple of people, so I'm going to give some time for coaching. I'm also working on some other stuff which hopefully I can launch in November, which will help a lot more people. And yeah, just keeping my mind curious to new ideas, and yeah, just being open to stuff, really. Really is myself. You know, I spent many years, like through the 2000s, just, I don't know, feeling like the scene owed me something without actually doing too much. I just thought, you know, maybe being female and maybe, you know, being all right looking and like just being good at DJing was enough, and actually it's not enough. And, you know, I hadn't really contributed anything to the scene for the scene to give me anything in return. And once I kind of got over that, like, negative thought patterns and behaviour, and control, and this had this like inherent perfectionism thing as well, which was horrendous. Like, my set had to be perfect, and if it wasn't perfect, you know, I would beat myself up about it, and actually it's just, you know, I was just so insecure at the time. And so now I just learned how to be a bit more easier on myself, give a lot more, and you know, make music, be self-sufficient, and I really wanted to just do everything myself. I didn't want to rely on anybody. So my challenges were quite big, but you know, it paid off for me in the end by working on all that stuff. Yeah, even from like a personal perspective, not just a career perspective. So I think in recent years we've got better. There's definitely more inclusion. The females that are throughout the scene has increased dramatically. We have got some other areas that we now need to look at, and I was, you know, the last couple of weeks with this Eric Murillo passing away, and how divided we are as a scene, you know, like, we really need to look at that. I really, you know, it really shocked me, you know, like how nasty things got online, and yeah, so that's one area I really want to look at closer. Bringing in minorities is another one that we really need to figure out and create a platform for. And yeah, and it's exciting, you know, like, I think I'm excited because it means that it's more diverse, and music's coming from all different, you know, influences and inspirations, and that's how it should be, you know, like, it's then we'll find ourselves in a better place for dance music to evolve again. Because I think right now we're spending a lot more time looking backwards rather than forwards. So, yeah. Which was probably one of my worst shows emotionally, which still causes me some anxiety, is a show I did in Brazil. We had some technical problems and we just couldn't fix them. And what transpired after is that we had a faulty mixer, and yeah, it was just at some point I just had people screaming at me from the dance floor, and I didn't realise that this is kind of a cultural thing to be so passionate, and I didn't realise the passion was not really aggression. It was just like, you know, they really wanted the music to sound good. So I remember, like, you know, I still played for like 4 hours that night, but it was a really tough time. And yeah, and I'm really disappointed that I didn't get a chance to go back to Brazil this year to play for Digital, because I was hoping to redeem myself and make it up to everybody. My favourite producers currently are Mikey Knox from Australia, I think he's from Melbourne, and Daryl, who's Irish. And both of those guys, I've kind of been supporting and playing their music for, I'd say, the last, I don't know, 2 years. And yeah, even though I think they make amazing music, I feel like they've got even more to say and more to come. So it's really exciting, and they're both of them are just about like now getting onto bigger labels. So it's exciting to see how they grow. Don't do it. No, I'm only joking. I would say make sure you're financially stable. If you're looking to come here for a job, then really good level of German will really help you. It can be done. I would suggest maybe looking for a room in a shared apartment to start with, and then once you get settled, then you can probably find an apartment, because there's a lot of paperwork that you need before you can literally solo get an apartment. And yeah, but yeah, still the lifestyle is really great here. I mean, the summer's much better than the UK, but the winters can be more brutal. So yeah, I think anyone that wants to live an artist's life and can afford it, it's a great place.